got his arms free, half hit his target.
It was like a bomb went off. The ringing, like, it's like you see in a movie, the war movies when the bomb goes off for like 5 minutes.
Footy mad Koby Stevens fulfilled his childhood dream of playing in the AFL at 18 when he signed with the West Coast Eagles. What do you remember of your debut?
Not much. I ran on in the first minute, I got kneed in the head and knocked clean out.
Do you remember the hit?
Nah. It was just complete blackout.
So you kind of robbed of this.
Robbed of the perfect debut.
Koby had a 3-year stint at the Eagles before the midfielder went on to thrive at the Bulldogs.
It's been impressive on debut for the Bulldogs, Koby Stevens.
You know, I've had 15 probably recorded concussions, but the smaller ones where you black out and get hit and you don't come off and you run around with blurred vision for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, they're the ones you don't speak about, and they're probably the ones we get away with.
So when you say you got away with these concussions,
yeah,
what do you mean?
It's just a part of how brutal our sport is, and you get hit and sometimes, you know, a bit of blurred vision and you just keep moving.
Stevens, he found some room as well, tumbles it towards the square, and the Bulldogs have managed to fashion a goal from nowhere.
Once you get to a certain level of sport, you know, once you make your dream come true, you want to hold on to it. I didn't talk about a lot of things, played with a lot of pain, but that was all because of you didn't want to lose this dream and this purpose that you'd found.
Gripping tightly to that dream, Koby was traded to St Kilda.
Hit his target, Dunstan who half. Big head clash. Brayshaw, who's got the helmet on.
Koby Stevens looks like he's come off a little bit worse for wear there.
Do you remember what that was like?
If you watch the clip, my head nearly does a 360 off my shoulders, and it was like a bomb went off, and I was deaf for probably 15 minutes and I thought I'd lost my hearing. I'm not the only one who's played with injuries. A lot of people have, and I don't wear that as a medal of honour. A lot of people have played hurt. But the ringing was something that I'd never experienced before.
It wasn't until the first game of Koby's second season with the Saints that his career came to a crashing end.
You can see me rolling around on the ground. My initial response was just straight up, I'm fine, when I knew I wasn't. And the reason that was because I was out of contract and I feared losing my dream. I was really sick all week, had really bad balance issues, and my health took a pretty big decline. Played the next week against North Melbourne and pretty much the whole day had blurred vision out in the middle of Etihad Stadium, and was the most vulnerable and most scared I've ever been in my life on a football field.
You keep saying, I can see on the footage I'm doing this. So you've obviously gone back and watched all those things.
Yeah.
How do you feel now watching them?
Wow, that's so stupid. That's not being a man, that's not being vulnerable. But we didn't know. You know, that's the thing. I didn't know until my last one where my health took a really big decline that you don't know until you've had your brain health taken away from you.
Battling with the repercussions of that final hit, Koby's life as he knew it was gone.
I went from being a perfectly fit elite athlete to not being able to get out of bed without passing out, you know.
Wow.
I was diagnosed with POT syndrome, which was a part of my brain that was injured, was affecting my heart rate.
Wow.
So every time I stood up, my heart rate would jump from 40 beats a minute to 130 at the click of a finger. My balance issues, my eyes were not good at all. The headaches were just insane. After some long chats over the last few weeks, I'm hanging up the boots. It's been a pretty tough period the last probably 3 or 4 months. Probably lonely at times as well. You go from being this calm, like I said, fit AFL athlete to all of a sudden your brain's just in chaos. You can't sleep. And no one knew the depths of what that injury was doing to me because I was so good at just being alone and hiding it.
Lonely, depressed, and barely able to leave the house, Koby hit rock bottom.
And then I guess, like, you know, Danny Frawley passed, and he was a mentor of mine and a coach of mine at St Kilda, and
a legend of the club.
And a legend, and it was just this tragic passing that really rocked me. And yeah, sorry.
Danny had been suffering from CTE, linked to repeated blows to the head.
Danny's passing really like just hit a chord with me. I was trying to mask my pain by doing silly things like, you know, drinking and trying to mask that chaos that was going on. And For me, it was just like this huge, in a way, kick in the arse to go, you need to make a radical change to figure out what was really going on and how I was going to heal it.
Meeting with specialists here in Australia and America, Koby began searching for hope.
In 2018, I had scans that showed I had brain damage and showed that I had abnormalities on my brain from the injury.
But had you ever heard of the possibility that you could fix these sorts of...
Not really. Didn't at the start. For a good 8 months, I thought I was going crazy and I thought nothing was going to fix it. I was seeing lots of neurologists, being offered pills for things that I didn't have.
Koby treated his brain injury like a muscle injury, and he was devoted to healing it.
It's really this concept of rewiring your brain, finding out what are the problems and trying to rewire it through different programs and technology and all these sorts of things. And then also went to alternative medicine, like doing psilocybin and assisted medicine treatments. Every day was hot cold plunges, worked with mindfulness experts and technology to read the brainwaves whilst you're meditating, and certain, breath techniques which were having an effect on the brain. All these weird and wonderful things were culminating in the repairing of the brain and getting me to a more healthy spot of going, well, now I don't have that anxiety of what the future looks like. There is hope. I had another scan at the start of this year, and just the difference over a 5-year period from that scan in 2018 to now is just astonishing.
Essentially, Koby has fixed his own brain.
It's something that gives a lot of hope to people. It's not just in sport, it's happening out in the communities. And what comes from head injuries is anxiety, it's depression, sometimes addiction, suicide, and the most tragic circumstances is death.
We're seeing a class action being put together against the AFL from players who've experienced concussion. There are clearly a lot of players who are upset about their experience with the game. How do you feel?
The reason that I'm not involved is because I don't want to go back into that part of my life. Don't have a chip off my shoulder towards football, and I see what it gives our community. And it's hard for me to watch players get hurt because I've been through it, and it's also hard to see it hurt the game as well, because it's such a special part of our culture. And I blame myself, because at the end of the day, all I wanted to be was an AFL footballer and wanted to live out my career playing AFL football.
Koby's been documenting his journey to recovery, travelling the world and meeting others in similar situations, in the hope that sharing his story might help others. The fruits of his labour will be an epic movie called Thrive. The executive producer, Saints superfan Eric Banner.
My hope is that we can change the script a bit on this injury. We don't want the film to be the end of the conversation. We want that to be the start. Our biggest goal for the future is to have neuroplasticity centres here in Australia that can help these people. But it's also opening up this new conversation to what our brains are actually capable of.
Great chat by Waleed. That was incredible. Such a nice interview.
Yeah, and extraordinary, isn't it, that whole idea about plasticity of the brain. And I think Koby makes a good point in that sport, not just football, but sport gives so much back to the community, and sometimes there is a cost. And it's about finding the balance of what that cost is, either to the individual or to the community, of changing it too fundamentally.
Yeah. The fascinating thing is how those sports adapt, especially the sports like AFL and rugby, both codes, NFL, the sports where people come for the hits, right? I think in soccer, right, I think there won't be heading in 50, 100 years.
Really?
Because there are links with dementia and all sorts of things with soccer, but the game could still survive. How those sports survive without the hits is going to be fascinating to see.
Play netball, that's what I say.
With you, Liz.
That's what we're all here to do.